In this New World video, we're gonna go over the best PvE armor perks in New World. The best PvE perk that you can get on your armor is actually ward perks. You get 4 different types of ward perks. You get Ancient Ward, Angry Ward, Corrupted Ward and Lost Ward. These ward perks will allow you to take less damage from certain mobs. For example, Corrupted Ward will allow you to take less damage against corruption, and the game is full of corruption enemies. For example, Portals has corruption enemies, expeditions like Dynasty Shipyard, Tempest, and the Depths all has corruption enemies. So the first set that you're going to want to get is a corruption set if you want to maximize your gear for mutation expeditions or in general for the game. So if the ward perk is the best perk you can get for PvE armor, what's the second best perk? Well, the second best perk is either Refreshing or Refreshing Ward. The more cooldown reduction you have, the more damage you can do and dish out. Take note that the Refreshing Ward perk is mainly for tanks, since they will take all the damage and aggro in a dungeon or expedition. But if you don't mind switching between damage and tank, Refreshing will do as well. And the last best perk for your best in slot PvE gear is going to be a weapon perk, but I'm also going to mention a few other perks that you might want to consider. Other perks you might want to consider is that if you're a tank, Sturdy Energy is a really good perk since it gives you stamina regen when your stamina is below 30%. Other perks that you can also consider is Physical Evasion. If you're a healer, those bow guys always target you in the back, so Physical Evasion will be good to reduce bow damage. You can also go with Elemental Evasion. It's also good for mutations. And last but not least, you can also consider Invigorated and Vigor. I would say Invigorated is a little bit higher on the list than Vigor, since lots of bosses like to apply rend and debuffs on you. Also, as a side note, some people like to take Shirking Fortification instead of the ward perks, just because they think it's better, but you will actually have to dodge bosses' abilities and so forth and be a really good player to switch out any ward perk for Shirking Fortification. I know somebody is going to ask me this question. Why do I like Refreshing more than Refreshing Evasion in New World? For Refreshing Evasion to be equal to Refreshing, you will have to dodge 4 times with Refreshing Evasion, and it takes you about 7 seconds to dodge 4 times. But in reality, nobody is going to dodge 4 times in 7 seconds. Most people will probably dodge 4 times every 14 seconds. Let's just be modest and say it's 4 times every 14 seconds. Even though it might even be longer. The longer you take the dodge, the less the value of Refreshing Evasion becomes and the more the value of Refreshing increases. Also, another big minus for Refreshing Evasion is that it only reduces your active weapon cooldowns. So let's say you're playing with a Great Axe and a hammer. If your hammer cooldowns is on cooldown, but you're currently playing with your Great Axe and your Great Axe will be your active weapon, only your Great Axe cooldowns will be reduced by Refreshing Evasion and your hammer cooldowns will just not be reduced even though you dodge. And this is why I like Refreshing more than Refreshing Evasion. So the best in slot perks for PvE armor perks is going to be any ward perk, Refreshing or Refreshing Ward for tanks, Sturdy Energy for tanks, and afterwards I would go with a weapon perk, and the last perk I would go with either Physical Evasion or Elemental Evasion. If you've liked this video, consider subscribing. I post new World videos every week.